So one of the main things I wish I'd known at the start of when I used to do my watercolours and coloured pencil, when I changed to doing coloured pencil art, is which paper to use. Everybody's different in how they want their work to look, and choosing papers is probably one of the #1 hardest things to do as a coloured pencil artist. There's so many different papers out there, and I would never say to somebody, this is the paper you should be using, try this paper, it's amazing, because different papers suit different artists, and it's unfortunately one of those things you just have to find out for yourself. But I will say, if you want realism, it's probably best to go for papers that you can build lots of layers on. There's all different, like a new paper that I recently bought. I haven't tried it out yet, but I know that Bonnie Snowden uses it quite a bit, is the drafting film. I managed to find this in Canada in a little stationery art shop called Midoko, I think it is. Quite a nice little place. So I managed to find that, so I'm going to give that a go at some point. It's almost like tracing paper, so it's really thin, you can see through it, and that's supposed to give really realistic, smooth results. So I'm going to give that a go. And there's Bonnie Snowden again. She works in Clairefontaine pastel matte, and I've used pastels on that before in the past, but I haven't really used it much for coloured pencils. I've got another fox's face on the go with that, so that's is a different kind of paper altogether. You have to work in a different way, using quite blunt pencils, and you can work so you can put light over dark with it and that kind of thing. So it's with paper, sorry, it's one of those things that you don't have to stick to specifically to a certain type of paper. You can try different types of papers. I know they're expensive, so if you can get sheets from open stock from places like Jackson's, it makes it a little bit easier. So you can buy one sheet, try it, see how you get on. If you don't like it, move on to something else. But I will say #1 would be to work out your paper first before you move on, spending loads of money on a paper and you decide you don't like it, it's not giving you the results you want. Trust in the process. You'll always have ugly stages when you're drawing. There's just no getting around that. At the moment, I'm going through an ugly stage at the moment where this looks really weird, this back leg. To be fair, I'm kind of making it up there because that's missing. But at the moment, it just looks really odd. So you've just got to, one of the things when I first started doing coloured pencil was, when I was doing watercolour, I was quite used to laying down a few washes and it would look quite nice soon, like straight, like when you've, I can't get my words out. When you first started painting, you'd get that vibrant colour wash and it looked really quite nice, and you didn't have to put too much detail in to make it look nice. Whereas with coloured pencil, you've got to trust in the process because it is quite a slow medium, and you have to keep building your layers before you see the result at the end, which can take quite a long time and it can seem a bit frustrating, but you've just got to enjoy the process more than anything with coloured pencil. I wish I'd known when I first started, not just coloured pencil drawing, but art in general really, was that you should always concentrate on your lights and darks. For me, it's always been about the detail. As much detail as possible would make it look good. And that's not actually the case. You need to omit a lot of the detail to make it look real. So with this tail here, normally I would do so much more detail, but when you stand back, it looks more realistic than if I put so much more detail in it. Normally, like in the past, I would have just been doing every little tiny strand of fur until it was completely done. And then I would stand back and think, why doesn't that look real? Because I've done all the strands. So sometimes less is more. So try to put details in the shadows or in the highlights, but not in both. And get your darks to be really dark and your lights to be really light. And that's what gives the realism. Eye is quite clever, so it will fill in the detail itself, so you don't have to worry about that so much. And as a coloured pencil artist, you want to save time because it is a very time-consuming medium. Another thing that I wished I'd known at the start of doing coloured pencils, and probably before that really, was to not compare yourself to other people, especially when you're first starting out a new medium. You check out other artists, like I love Jessica Lennox. These are coloured pencil artists, by the way. Jessica Lennox, Bonnie Snowden, Alan Woolett and Bethany Veer were my top ones that I would look up on Instagram, and you'd see their work and you'd be scrolling through and you'd be, oh my gosh, how amazing is that? And then you try and do something yourself and it would look rubbish in comparison to these other artists. And I just think you should just not compare yourself to other artists and just do your own thing and just feel proud of every piece of artwork that you do. I mean, you can look at their art and admire what they've done and to get maybe ideas of what to do, or not necessarily steal their ideas of what they've done, but just to inspire you moving forward of what piece of work you want to do next. They're good for inspiration and that, but don't sit there comparing your work to theirs, because they've got the years of experience and it might have taken them ages to do or whatever. Just like I said before, enjoy the process and just be proud of your own work and not compare it to other people. So layering is key if you want to get, well, with coloured pencils, if you want a realistic look. Sometimes it can take just multiple layers of, 20 layers or so, me just going over and over, coming back with the same pencil or going in with a lighter pencil and then going in, so working light to dark, just constantly building up your layers. So starting off with, let's see, the lightest layer that you can find. So maybe starting with, a very light grey or even a white. It just depends on the pencils you've got really. So start layering with your lightest colour, working to dark and just constantly building up the layers. And obviously, like before I said, trust in the process because it takes quite a while, but it's the layers that give it the realism when you've finished. And also the sharpness of the pencil was one of the things that used to get me at the start as well. Everybody said you had to have a supremely sharp pencil. And that is true when you're doing, say, if you're doing eyes and that kind of thing, skin, because you need to get into the grain of the paper. So the sharper the pencil, the more it can get into the grain of the paper. But when you're first starting your layers, say like on fur, you can go in with a blunter pencil, and I think it works better with a blunter pencil. This looks quite sharp, but it's actually, I haven't sharpened it. I'm just constantly going over with this pencil and not sharpening it. It was before, when I first started doing colour pencil, I would have this. It was so sharp that you could actually stab yourself with it. And so now I don't sharpen my pencils as much unless I'm doing final details and working on eyes and that kind of thing. It's up to you. It's a preference, really. The more you practice and the more more colour pencil drawings you do, the more you get to know how sharp you need your pencils. It's a personal thing, and it depends on what you're working on, whether it be portraits or you know, portraits of people, not dogs, and that kind of thing. So I'm reading this fantastic book called Deep Work: Rules for a Focused Success in a Distracted World, by Cal Newport. Absolutely brilliant book. And it's down to this book that I've actually started working on a regular basis, systematically every day. Whereas before I would do it when the mood struck. So I just want to read this one part in the book that he has taken from the journalist Mason Curry. And it says, there is a popular notion that artists work from inspiration, that there is some strike or bolt of bubbling up of creative mojo from who knows where. But I hope my work makes clear that waiting for inspiration to strike is a terrible, terrible plan. In fact, perhaps the single best piece of advice I can offer to anyone trying to do creative work is to ignore inspiration. So having a set style was something that has bothered me for, not set style, but you know, a style of work that people immediately recognize you. When they see your work, they know that's such and such. And this is something I've struggled with for years. I've always wanted to have a style so people could recognize what I did. So I kind of, if anyone does know me, I worked and I just did birds only. And I just got a bit bored. I wanted to do other things. And so I've been doing more British wildlife, deers and foxes and that kind of thing. And so a style is just something that, you know, a lot of artists, if they're lucky, they just magically have. And they start off and they just go on that road and, you know, get recognized and get in galleries and all that kind of thing. So I'm just saying that if you don't have a style and you do more realistic work like myself, then maybe you could specialize in something like eyes, or that could be your style. You only do horses and that kind of thing, or you can just do whatever you fancy, like a lot of artists like to do. I don't feel that to be an artist that you have to have a specific style. I think you should just enjoy what you do, and if you do get a style eventually, it will come through in your work. The way you work. Some people with coloured pencils use a solvent to soften it up to make it look more painterly, more watercolory looking, and that kind of thing. That could be your style. It doesn't have to be something that is really crazy looking and stands out from everybody else. It could just be something that's quite subtle, and people just recognize you from that one thing. Or you could just be one of these people that works really well with just using bright lights in your work, like bright sunlight and that kind of thing. You just work with light and dark and that kind of thing. So I don't think that when you're doing coloured pencil that you, or any other medium, that you need to worry too much about style. Just enjoy what you're doing. That's the main thing. Another thing that I would say that I was quite heavily influenced by what other people would say to me, what I should draw, what I should paint, and I would go off on a tangent buying new paints and investing in new things to do, new projects, because a family member or a friend has said, you should do this, you should paint this, you should do this kind of style of work, this is popular, this is what sells, and all that kind of thing. Your birds are all right, but this is what you should be doing. And I would be, oh, right, okay, well, if you think that, then that's what other people think, so maybe, yes, that's what I should do. And I chopped and changed my mediums and spent lots of money on different things, paints and all that kind of thing. And then I would do that for a few months and then get bored of it and think, oh, this isn't for me. And then go back to what I was doing because that's what I enjoyed. And then somebody else would say something and I'm, oh, right, okay, yeah, that's a good idea. And then and the same process would happen over and over again. And if I had just stuck to what I was doing, I would be quite prolific now. So my advice is just to do what you enjoy. Don't let other people put ideas into your head, basically, about what you should do. You do what you enjoy and just focus on that. It's great to take other people's opinions, like if you've drawn something and it's not that great, and you can ask them, oh, where should I improve on this and that kind of thing. But just don't take advice from people telling you what medium you should be doing and what style you should be doing. Just enjoy what you do and just enjoy the process. Another quick one is, I know this sounds really obvious, but someone said, I think it's the book that I'm reading actually, it says in there, the Cal Newport book, that if you don't produce, you won't thrive, no matter how skilled or talented you are. So you could produce the most amazing piece of artwork that's taken you roughly a year to do, and you're really proud of it, and it's the best piece of work you've ever done, but it's taken a whole year of your life. Whereas somebody could have churned out 50 pieces of work in that year and is doing really well, selling their work and getting a name for themselves. And this one piece of artwork is not going to get you anywhere. So I have been not complacent, but I'm quite slow and methodical, and I'm a bit of a perfectionist, which I am trying to work on to speed up and not, worry about, done is better. Done is better than perfect. So I'm trying to work towards that. This is something that is ongoing with me, and it will probably resonate with other people, that the perfectionist in you won't let you finish the work until it's how you like it. And even then, when you finished it, you don't even like it. So you just, move on and say, call it done and get on with the next piece of work. Now, that's something I'm trying to work on still. So it's something that's ongoing. But I thought I'd share that one with you because that is a big one. It can be quite crippling. Sometimes this fox has taken me a long time. I've started it and I've put it to one side and I've got on with other things because I'm not happy with the way it looks and that kind of thing. So I just thought I would share that one with you because it is probably one of the most crippling thing that an artist can go through. The whole procrastination because it's not good enough, or they're worried that they're going to ruin the piece of artwork. So for me, that is probably my number one thing, and I just thought I'd share that with you. And the last thing I wish I'd known at the start of my artist journey was that you can't just use any picture you like or that you find on Google to copy and make your art from. You need to either pay for that image or ask the photographer's permission, and if they say no or they don't reply to you, don't just use it anyway. If it's for, I'd say if it's for your own personal use and it's just for a picture that you're doing at home and you're not going to sell it and you're just having it in your bedroom or whatever, that's not so bad. But you have to, if you're selling pieces of work, what have you, you need to make sure that you're careful with, images that you use. Like I said, paying for the image, or like I have a reference websites that I use. I've made a video on that if you want to check that out, and just basically just be respectful of photographers. They've sat in some sort of hideout for hours on end to get these beautiful photos, and the last thing they need is someone just basically stealing it and copying it. So that's probably the last thing that I would add on my video today, and I hope you enjoyed watching it. And if you wish to subscribe to see further content, I would appreciate that. Thank you for watching. Bye.